Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Panama. I am currently in the town of Gamboa, about 45 minutes north of Panama City, but for the last 5 days or so I have been cooped up in a conference in Panama City. So yes, this is a work trip for me, and it's been kind of tough being inside thinking about all the birds that are out there. But as of today, which is Friday, I now have 3 free days for myself before I fly back to Boston. And I'm going to pack as much birding as possible into those 3 days. So here in Gamboa, I have checked into a nice hotel, standing on the balcony here that you can see a nice view out there, and I've been seeing some birds in the trees and everything, so I'm really looking forward to exploring this area. What I'm going to do in this video, though, is now review some of the birds that I was able to see on 2 stops. So the first one was yesterday afternoon after the conference ended. A couple of colleagues and I went over and saw the Panama Canal locks. So it's the visitor center. They have a nice IMAX movie about the Panama Canal, and then you can see a ship go through there. And there were also some nice birds there as well. So that was actually a really cool combination sightseeing and birding stop. Then this morning I went to a large park in Panama City near my hotel called I think just called the Metropolitan Park of Panama City. And they have a nice visitor center there. So I walked around there for a couple of hours and picked up some of my first sort of rainforest birds there in a nice stop for a couple of hours. So let's start with the first one of those, which was the Panama Canal locks visit from yesterday afternoon.
The visitor center viewing area overlooks a set of locks that lower or raise ships moving into or out of the Pacific Ocean. You can see a ship in the distance ready to enter the locks. That ship is finishing its trip across the Panama Canal from the Atlantic side to the Pacific side. Before entering the visitor center and going up to the viewing platform, I was able to pick up a few birds in the parking area outside. Tropical kingbirds are one of the most common birds in Panama and can be seen perched up around any open area. Several southern lapwings were hanging out in the grassy area around the parking lot. This was the first of many new birds for the channel life list, as indicated in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. This represents a list of all the birds I have shown well on this YouTube channel. Coincidentally, I recently saw a vagrant northern lapwing back in my home state of Massachusetts. I spotted a few pale-vented pigeons that were perched up in a dead tree. This was my first personal lifer of the trip. Some clay-colored thrushes were feeding on the grass, another very common bird in Panama. They are related to both American robins and Eurasian blackbirds, and their behavior reminds me very much of American robins. A flyover short-tailed hawk was a nice surprise. This species is found in the United States, but only in southern Florida where it's rather rare. And this lesser kiskadee was hawking insects next to the parking lot as well. This is one of several flycatcher species found in the tropics that have similar plumage of a yellow breast and a bold black and white face pattern. I'll be showing some of the others in a future video in this series. Back up on the viewing platform, the ship was entering the lock. For future reference, note that the water level in the lock is quite high, and you can see the entire hull of the ship. The viewing platform was also a nice place to view birds, and of course I had my birding camera with me. Black vultures are probably the most commonly seen bird in Panama, as you can virtually always see one soaring overhead no matter where you are. The guide I worked with later in the trip told me they were jokingly referred to as the Panamanian Air Force. More interestingly, several magnificent frigate birds were also soaring over the canal. They have a unique, menacing profile with their crooked wings and long tails, and I love watching them fly. They have one of the highest ratios of wing area to weight of any bird, giving them the ability to soar effortlessly like a kite. I also spotted this very distant American kestrel. This was one of several familiar U.S. birds that I saw on their winter migration grounds in Panama. Most of them will be heading north quite soon. Meanwhile, the container ship is now heading out of the last lock toward the Pacific Ocean. You can see that it's now about 50 feet lower than when it entered the locks. After the ship passed through, it was starting to get dark, but we decided to go for a short walk near the visitor center. Agoutis were a common sight in Panama. They're a large rodent and completely harmless. We came across a small pond that had this great egret in breeding plumage. This egret is most likely not a winter migrant, as they're found year-round in Panama. In the pond below the egret, I was surprised to see this rather large American crocodile, which is found throughout Central America. Fortunately, I wasn't planning on doing any swimming on this trip. Then a couple of red-lored Amazons flew into a tree directly above the great egret. All of the parrots in the genus Amazona have now been given the common name of Amazon rather than parrot. I managed to get a flight shot of them as well. And finally, when it was getting quite dark and we were waiting for our Uber to show up, a summer tanager popped up onto a fence. This bird will definitely be heading north in a month or so.
Okay, that Panama Canal visit was a lot of fun. That was yesterday afternoon, and then this morning I woke up early and grabbed an Uber to get to the Metropolitan Park of Panama City, which was about a 10-minute drive from there. One thing I wanted to mention actually is that Uber works extremely well in Panama, at least in the regions in and around Panama City. So the drivers just show up immediately after you call for them, and the prices are very reasonable, and the cars have been very nice as well. So it's a great way to get around. I was a little worried about how I was going to get around the city, especially on my own, because I've had some bad luck with taxis occasionally over the years, but Uber has really worked great in Panama City. So I arrived at this Metropolitan Park Visitor Center and spent a couple of hours there birding. And so let's go through the birds that I saw there earlier this morning.
The Metropolitan Natural Park is a large area of protected rainforest with trails for visitors to explore and this nice visitor center with landscaped grounds. After paying a $5 entrance fee, I was good to go. This howler monkey gave me a friendly welcome to the park. Yeah, same to you, buddy. Their eerie howls are really something to experience. Although I could see and hear some bird activity near the visitor center, I decided to start my visit by hiking a short loop through the rainforest. I soon found myself going steeply uphill and breaking into a sweat. As is often the case, there were not many birds to be seen or heard in the forest. However, I did run across one good one, this red-throated ant tanager. The trail finally reached an overlook point that has a really nice view of downtown Panama City. You can see how forested this park is. The trail then descended again, and I started hearing traffic and other noises ahead. I also started seeing more birds. I came across a family of red-crowned woodpeckers, which are obviously closely related to the red-bellied woodpeckers I see back home. A very noisy flock of orange-chinned parakeets was directly over my head. As always, I really enjoyed seeing wild parrots. Then I spotted a really cool bird, a squirrel cuckoo. This is one of those birds you see in the bird guide and think, I sure hope I see one of those. So this was an early highlight of my Panama trip. Check out that long tail. The trail then brought me back to the visitor center, and I decided to spend the rest of my limited time there since I was noticing lots of bird activity. These crimson-backed tanagers were common in Panama and always a treat to see. These two seem to be arguing over a really delicious-looking spider. These photos look like I'm messing around with the color saturation, but they really are that vibrant shade of red. Another common and much less showy tanager species is the palm tanager. Here's one living up to its name. This familiar-looking bird is a house wren, but thanks to a very recent split, it's now known as the southern house wren, while the ones I see in the US are now northern house wrens. That split gave me an armchair lifer, as I had seen one in Chile back in 2018. The southern birds don't look any different to my eye, but the song is definitely different. This common toady flycatcher is a handsome little bird and quite common in Panama. This photo here is one of my favorite shots of the trip. At some point it started raining, but I didn't really mind. I had an umbrella with me and the bird activity wasn't affected at all. A small flock of variable seed eaters was flying around the grounds. These tiny birds were common in all of the more open habitats that I visited. Another really attractive bird that's common in Panama is the blue-gray tanager. The same can't be said for the plain-colored tanager. You almost have to feel sorry for such a drab bird in the tropics. This is a male summer tanager molting into its adult plumage. It looks like a bowl of rainbow sherbet. And finally, this northern water thrush is another overwintering migrant getting ready for the big trip north.
Okay, so that catches you up on the birding that I've done so far. After I finished at the Metropolitan Park, I just went back to the hotel, checked out, and took an Uber up to this Gamboa resort where I'm staying now. So I'm going to go out and do some birding here on the grounds, and then I'm going to visit a nice place tomorrow for birding. And then I should have a good day on Sunday as well because I've contracted with a guide for that day. So I'm hoping to have at least 2 more videos from this trip, so stay tuned for those. But I'm going to wrap this one up here. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.